meeting of the council on the 13th of May 2025. Thank you very much for attending this extraordinary meeting, as I say here. Item number one, apologies for absence received, Town Clerk. Did we have any apologies?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Breen has a travel commitment, Councillor Franklin illness, Councillor Gray a travel commitment, Councillor Marie a work commitment, Councillor Ripley a personal commitment, and Councillor Wiles a travel commitment.
Thank you very much. Item number two, declarations of interest. And this is to receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of the business to be transacted on the agenda this evening. Do we have any declarations of interest, councillors only? No. That's a nil return, please. Item number three, public participation. And this is a 20-minute session is set aside for members of the public to make representations at the meeting in respect of business on the agenda and other matters if time permits. Individual representations should not exceed 5 minutes. Written notice of the desire to exercise the right to speak together with the topic to be addressed must be given to the Town Clerk prior to noon on the day of the meeting. Do we have any members?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Carol George is the first speaker.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Mrs. George, would you like to come up here and address the council members, please? Thank you. And you've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay. You'll be aware that when we found out about the proposed increases to parking charges, we in the town team thought we would try to do something about it, certainly raise awareness to businesses and to local residents. And as such, we put out a statement and asked people to complete what we called a petition. I think it turned out to be more of a survey than a petition. However, it is very interesting. And I did circulate this evening about 45 responses that I had, because I think they were really important for our councillors to know how businesses and how the residents feel about this. So the analysis from that data, the number of people responding were 47. Businesses in Sandwich actually totaled 25 of those, and residents 22. I have the outcomes to the codes that we had, so I've got all that information here. I'm not going to read it out. The Town Clerk can have it, and you can see it. But some people responded just angrily by message. Some people put codes and angrily by message, and some people just angrily. So what I'd like to say is, I think the data and the feedback that you will have read, or you will hopefully read, actually speaks for itself. In summary, we would deduce that the overwhelming response that increasing car park charges would be extremely damaging to Sandwich, its business, its residents, and tourists. I did remove all the names and the email addresses of the people who sent their responses, so you won't know them, but I'm sure from some of the comments you will deduce who they were. I've got a few answers that I've got here, and I think one of the things that is interesting is that we only really did this very quickly for 3 or 4 days in Sandwich. But as it was pointed out, there are a lot of people who live in the villages who come in for the GPs, market day, the library, and so on. And so I think I've only got 2 from them, but probably they don't know anything about it. So wait until they do. So a few words that encompass, I think, the views of the majority are: the town is already suffering low footfall, and these proposed increases will be the nail in the coffin that finishes it off. Businesses are already coping with additional costs, water, electricity, gas, etc., and NI costs, and fewer shops will be forced to close. It was a thriving market town, full of shops and shoppers before DDC imposed any car park charges some time ago. As a member of staff in one of the businesses, there's no way I can afford additional costs to work here. I'm assuming that business permits will increase again this year. Clarification is required with respect to the cost of a business parking permit. And there's a particular query here, because if this car park only allows 3 hours, does that mean that a business permit will then have to move? And if they're part-time workers, well, if they're any worker, but the part-time worker is going to have to move, find another space and pay something in that other car park, rather than in the J car park where they're allowed to park with their permits. Higher charges will push more people and business owners, workers to find alternative free parking in the streets around the town. This will cause even more chaos for residents, as people already experience restricted access to their homes when vehicles are parked indiscriminately. It also affects emergency vehicle access. You wouldn't chance 1 hour parking if you had a GP appointment. Therefore, the minimum additional cost would be 40p. And what happens then if you have to take your prescription to the chemist? This will not encourage people to spend the extra money on parking in the town and have a coffee or lunch or browse and actually make purchases in our shops. As an elderly person, often housebound, I rely heavily on my family and friends visiting me. They won't be staying very long with car park costs such as these. We want to encourage more visitors and tourists to Sandwich. We want them to wander through the town, climb the tower, visit the museum and walk to the quay. Maybe a coffee and a snack will cost them £8 or maybe even £12.50 on top of what they're going to spend. Will they do this? Parking on the quay to take a trip to see the seals, pop into the medieval centre, could cost £8 or more. If you want a snack and a drink, you've got more to pay out. If you then want to walk through to town to shop and visit the museum, you're talking about £12.50, which is exorbitant. And people, they don't believe people will do this. Anything that makes Sandwich a less appealing place to visit will harm the town, its business and the wider community, and we believe that the proposed increases will do just that. DDC appear to want to ruin Sandwich and destroy our shops and hospitals. So there were a couple of proposed ideas. First 30 minutes free, as it is in the co-op. 1 to 4 hours, £5, 1 to 9 hours, £6. Suggested the introduction of reduced rate parking stickers for shop owners, available monthly or quarterly. First 30 minutes, again, free parking. Free parking on a Thursday morning or market days. Payment when exiting the car park. And SDC to take back the lease agreement that they have with DDC for the Cattle Market car park and set their own tariffs or make it free. I would strongly urge you to read the remarks that I've sent out tonight and to understand the anger, frustration and the real concern that businesses, community and residents have for Sandwich if Sandwich is to survive.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Mrs. George. Excellent.
Okay.
And did we have a second speaker?
Yes, the second speaker, John.
All right. What about the camera? Has he got to do it from there or
Yes.
up here?
Yeah.
Down there.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, could we have Mr. John Vanderdoel? But he's going to speak from down there to be off camera, if that's okay. 5 minutes, John, if you would address the council. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Mrs. George has actually answered or mentioned most of the things that I was going to say. So I'll take a slightly different tack. For those who don't know me, I've been trading in the town for 29 years. I started on the 1st of March 1996, and within 2 weeks of opening or taking over the card shop, I was also before that I bought the shop and run by clients, and within 2 weeks of taking over the shop, the post office moved to Spa. That did a lot of good to King Street, let me tell you. A couple of months later, the co-op opened up. That sucked the life out of the town over a period of time. Now, I'm not having to go to the co-op, don't think that. They do a lot of good and support the town. But what has happened as a result of the co-op is that we've now got one butcher, we had two, we've got no greengrocers, we haven't got a proper baker, and so on. So in other words, the day-to-day shops that people come in for, we don't have. So people go to the co-op and people say, yeah, but then they come and walk into the town. Well, actually they don't, because if they bought frozen food, they put it in their car, they go straight home. So into the co-op and straight home. So the footfall in the town has substantially decreased in the last 29, 30 years that I've been trading. Okay. Car parking charges came in. I can't remember what year that happened, but there was a lot of feeling against that. In fact, the council called a public meeting. It was in the Guildhall. It was so well attended they had to cancel it because there were too many people for that particular night. They then rescheduled it to 2 meetings, one during the day, one in the evening for those people that are at work during the day. And anyway, it affected the town substantially. Anyway, so the best thing I can do really is I've written to Councillor Mills in Dover, for those who don't know, he's the head of the Labour Party and the head of Dover District Council, and also to Trevor Bartlett, he's a Conservative for Dover District Council, and I might just as well read you the letter that I wrote to them. It's probably quicker. So it's come to my attention that DDC are looking at huge car parking increases in the district. Now the £12.50, is it £12.50 down to £15?
Yeah.
Is a 40% increase. £10.80, I beg your pardon, £10.80 to £15 is a 40% increase at a time when inflation is running at 4%. I don't get that. Anyway, I understand the problems local government is having financially, but this cannot be the way to solve them. The retail trade in our area has suffered significantly in recent years, particularly in high streets. Local governments spend money on the regeneration of high streets on the one hand, and then potentially degrade the business with these proposed changes. Sandwich struggles with a lack of footfall, as we all know, and consequently lack of business. Convenience stores have all but disappeared in the town, and the edge of town and out of town shopping centres have taken this business. You know that the footfall has substantially dropped. I mean, you can walk down King Street many days and not see a soul. Yesterday afternoon, I did this exercise, walked up and down King Street. There wasn't a soul about. Very often, shops don't take enough money to pay their staff. Okay, and that's a fact. I know the businesses are struggling as it is. Recently, 2 shops closed, and although excuses as to why they did, I know that lack of business was a contributory factor. Pubs are struggling. The 2 shopping streets are often empty of potential customers. Even without these increased charges, I would not be surprised if further shops will close this year. Some shops, including my own, are merely hobbies, and it is not wanting to let the local population and staff down, but they remain open, and that's a fact in my shop. I can earn more by stacking shelves in the co-op than I'm actually earning out of my own shop. Okay? And I don't think I'm the only one. Government are currently making it virtually impossible to continue with low VAT thresholds and high contributions for the larger businesses, etc. These proposed changes will affect locals, as shops will inevitably close, tourists, employees, and thus business. The council will lose rates from the larger businesses, VAT contributions to the Treasury, and unemployment and other benefits will come to play. The radial and state roads will inevitably get clogged up, they already do, up with cars whose owners refuse to pay these extortionate charges. To some degree, this is already happening. You can see it on the Deal Road, you can see it on the Ash Road, and I've no doubt that Willowbank and the estate south of the railway will start getting clogged up with cars when people refuse to pay the car parking charges. I know that people, for instance, who go by train in the morning, park up Fordridge Place, and a number of staff on minimum wage will lose more than their first hour of pay in car parking charges if they're covered by car. take a look at Canterbury and see what rent rates and car parking charges have done to the businesses, to the business community. Often I hear customers say they won't pay the high car park charges in Canterbury and instead take advantage of free parking in Westwood. Sandwich does not have that much to offer in terms of retail outlets, and these swinging proposed charges will be the death of the town. Now, when I say it doesn't have much to offer, that's not strictly true, but what we are offering is some wonderful shops. We've got some lovely clothes shops, gift shops, and so on. But what we don't have, like I said, is the butcher, the baker, the greengrocer.
Can I ask you to conclude, please, John? Sorry. Thank you.
I urge DDC to take look at other options for raising money and stop treating the motorists as an easy target. So I really hope you can see this is not the answer to local government financial difficulties. One thing briefly, Trevor Bartlett, head of the Conservative Party of Dover, is head of the scrutiny committee, and they're meeting next Monday. And if you want to speak at that, you've got to talk, you've got to let them know 2 days before, by Thursday. Okay?
Thank
I hope
you.
some people will attend that.
Thank you very much for that, John. That's excellent. Thank you. Okay, let's have a little look. So that's item number 3. I'd just
Councillor
like
Black.
to.
Sorry, Councillor Black.
Oh yes, yeah. I'll just pick that. I just wanted to say thank you for those that have spoken tonight. It's really appreciated to have members of the public come into this council chamber and actually give the views from outside this building. So I really appreciate both of you coming and telling us how it really is out there. So thank you very much for that. So we would be going on to item number 4, but I believe Councillor Black, would you stand, please? And
yes, Mr. Mayor. May I suggest that we move item 5, which is the car parking registry, to the next item on the agenda, because we've got a lot of people here who have come for that. I don't think we necessarily want to plough through some of the other things. So I would propose that. If I have a second, then we can take this further.
I'm happy to second that.
and you're happy to second that on, Councillor Tuker, have you got
Yep.
that? Okay. Okay, could I have a show of your cards as to movement of the agenda items, please? Okay. Councillor Morehouse. Yep, that's unanimous. Thank you. So that's been carried, and we can take that forward. So we're now moving on to item number 5, proposed Dover District parking strategy, which has attachment 2 appended to it. And this is for members to consider the Dover District Council Cabinet report that will be presented at the DDC Cabinet meeting last night, actually, Monday the 12th, 2025. And the Town Council sent a link to that agenda item there. Members are to debate the impact for Sandwich and agree any actions that may be required. And we will be requiring a decision on this. Before I actually open up the floor on that, I just wanted to say, because I've been sort of inundated with people at church, when I've been walking around at meetings, all sorts of things, asking what are the council and myself doing about this. And similar to John van der Dole, I've actually written to every single member of the DDC Cabinet. I've also written separately to the leader of Dover District Council. I've also written to the portfolio holder for parking at Dover District Council, asking for meetings to take place tonight. And this meeting was called as an extraordinary meeting because this issue is of such great importance this evening. So really, Sandwich Town Council and myself have done as much as we possibly can. I must say I'm rather disappointed because from all my communications out to Dover District Council, I've had hardly any, if any, communications back from them. And I'm pretty upset that they couldn't even send me a holding email in return for my requests. So I'm very upset with that. So first of all, we've got Councillor Morehouse, and then Councillor Tuke and Councillor Pennington. Please stand, Councillor Morehouse.
In reality, I should ask everybody to stand and give a round of applause to Dick Turpin for
because at least he had the courtesy to wear a mask. I attended the cabinet meeting last night as an observer, as did Councillor Friend. One of the good news is that the deputy leader is proposing that the £1.80 charge for the first hour remains frozen at £1.80 and doesn't increase to £2. Don't go popping the champagne corks yet, because unless I'm hearing something very differently from what you are, Councillor Friend, I believe he suggested raising the 2-hour limit, the 2-hour charge to £2.50. I'll bring you in on this. Could I bring in Councillor? Can I bring in Councillor Friend, because he has relevant information on this at the same time? So would you like to stand and
Yeah, thank you.
add any
Mayor.
information?
Like Councillor Morehouse, I am certain what I heard last night, but the revised papers that have been published this evening for our meeting and overview and scrutiny actually has it staying at a £2 charge after the first hour and the removal of the 3-hour limit on the usual car park. So that would revert back to the new £50 charge. Yeah, it is. But I mean, I will check the recording because, like Councillor Morehouse, I'm certain that the recommendation was £1.80 for the first hour and then £2.50 an hour thereafter.
You will take that into account. So the 3-hour charge is scrapped. So the limit for the Guildhall is scrapped. That means that anyone earning minimum or any wage whatsoever, if they're working 5 days a week, their additional outlay is going to be over £1,000 a year. Now, that is the difference between somebody thriving and somebody just surviving, a working person. And again, this administration is punishing the people who can least afford these extra costs. So whatever we do tonight, we have to resist this to our maximum capacity. And I applaud the town team, and I'm sure there are others in here who are just as animated as I am about this. I've felt for many years that Sandwich has been significantly disadvantaged. Pay parking was introduced on the 22nd of January 2001. At the time, there should have been some recognition that Sandwich has significantly less retail floor space than both Deal and Dover, and having a one-size-fits-all policy was never going to work. And we've seen that over the last 24 years. The amount of shops and the amount of people that were actually walking around the town centre back then, in comparison with now, is significantly different. Indeed, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Councillor. Before I come to Councillor Tukel, I also just want to hasten to add that myself, I did 8 years at Dover District Council, and the 2 current Dover District Councillors as well. We have all pushed to get free parking. All of us have asked for either half an hour or an hour, or even at the very barest minimum, which I used to get in my day at Dover District, was we used to get free parking for like the Christmas lights weekend. We used to get free parking then. But all of us have done our very best to try and get some form of free parking up front, and unfortunately to no avail, I'm sorry to say. Councillor Tuker, would you like to address that?
Yes, so I apologise if I cover some of the same ground as certainly from the residents' perspective, but there are things that I wanted to mention. So first of all, I watched the cabinet meeting last night, and what I would say is a number of people here, including the mayor, but also residents here and also not here, have written direct to councillors within Dover District Council. What was the reality of the meeting last night was the underwhelming reference to any response from the community about the charges. So only one councillor, as I recall, made a passing comment. Certainly the chair made no reference to having received any correspondence. So that was very disappointing. So all the efforts so far have fallen to an extent on deaf ears. So the purpose of this is the exercise that DDC are running. I'll just read what's within their report. So the rationale for the proposed changes for Sandwich is to encourage higher turnover of parking, meaning more people are able to visit Sandwich town centre if parking demand exceeds supply. I think the thing is, if you drill down into this and having attended consultation meetings up to this point, what's here is there is a big problem, which is about not enough parking in the town at different times in the week. And they're trying to crack that nut with a sledgehammer in a way that has a number of negative impacts. So it's been mentioned, shoppers from outside the town may well choose to go to Westwood Cross. People who work within the town will find it very difficult with any proposed increases in charges. And then other visitors to the town, such as tourists, may well choose to limit their time here and depart fairly promptly. I got comments as well. So whilst Carol George has mentioned comments I got comments that were separate, direct to me, and I just wanted to cover two of them because I think they're important.
Of course.
So one was from a business aspect, and I'll read an extract from it. We have several businesses in the town and believe we help bring people into Sandwich who use a range of shops apart from our businesses. It is sheer madness on DDC to propose raising car park fees. I feel it will keep people away from Sandwich and cause harm to lots of other businesses. So that's from a business perspective. And then one of the ones I chose from a resident's perspective was, actually it's a visitor. So I'm not a resident, but a frequent visitor. With the proposed increases, these visits will definitely be reduced. Usually when I visit, I have something to eat and drink, and usually visit on a market day. I usually visit a pub for a drink also. I usually visit once a month or more. However, I will look at going to other places where I can get free parking or on-road street parking. So that's just a very clear impact for an individual from their perspective. I covered a lot more stuff, but I won't go into any more. Apart from, I just mentioned a couple of things. Permits were mentioned. They're outside this strategy. They are going to be reviewed from Q2 of this year, so that's July to September in terms of the last report I saw. The other thing is, within the actual proposals, there's a positive proposal, which is increasing the number of disabled parking spaces in the car park.
Yeah.
What it doesn't then go on to say is that actually those 4 spaces are ones that are owned by the STBF, so there will be an impact on the STBF to some extent, and I fully accept and support the need for additional spaces, but it's not as generous as it might seem from a DDC perspective.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Chuka. So that's very good. And then I had Councillor Pennington, please. Next.
Yes, thank you. I'll try and be brief. It seems to me that there are really serious issues of principle raised here. The first one is that this is taxation by the back door. It's completely unjustified and dishonest. The second is it's a basic law of economics that if you put the price up, you restrict demand. And as many people have argued, putting the price up will reduce the demand for parking. But not only that, it will increase the amount of illegal parking and congestion in areas around the town. The third point is that there should be a level playing field between towns like ours and places like Westwood Cross. I think it's completely unjustifiable that you can park for free in Westwood Cross for I think 4 hours, but we have to undergo these significant price increases. It seems to me that although I know the legal situation is different, that there should be some measure introduced to ensure that there's greater fairness and better competition.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pennington. And then we have Councillor Black.
Thank you. I think we ought to look at how effective and efficient Dover District Council actually are with their car parking. I looked at their 23-24 parking returns, and if you include all on-street and off-street parking, that gave a gross revenue of £2.8 million. Off-street parking produced a revenue of £1.8 million. Unfortunately, it cost them £780,000 to actually administer the car parks. And that's before you take into account repairs and illegal costs and so on. So you've got to put some repainting and occasionally you've got to repair the holes in the concrete. You look at this, they say that this will generate revenue of 50,000. That is 3% of the gross. And don't forget, you're going to have to take off more charges for administration. If they really want to save some money, that is all to look at some of their efficiency and effectiveness, because that is a ludicrous amount to spend on administration. And I'm not taking repairs and other things like that into account. That's purely administration. 24 statistics from Dover District Council. The second thing is to look at, some have made some reference to it, but we are undersupplied compared to another tourist town like Rye. It's page 21 of their own paper. Not only are we undersupplied compared to Rye, we actually have to pay more than Rye. Now, Rye's doing very nicely as a tourist town. The chair of our tourism forum keeps on saying we should be looking to Rye. Yes, we should do, and certainly for car parking charges. This is, on the surface of it, a very inefficient operation. And if you really want to start making savings, the first thing you do is look at your own internal costs. Now, obviously, you have to, some of the enforcement will be including things like, well, actually, we won't be able to see a parking warrant, that is. Some of the enforcement, and then every year when you need them in the evenings, school runs and so on. They're here just to gather revenue and very little else, so it seems.
Thank you very much, Councillor Black. Councillor Mallet, sorry.
You've forgotten who I am.
You've changed your clothes since you were here last.
Do you mind?
Councillor Mallet, will you please address the council?
Right.
More
an observation of the way that Dover District Council Cabinet work. Now, over the last year, and literally a year, I have been negotiating back and forth over parking for festivals. Now, to do that, I prefer to use statistics and numbers. So I first of all went to Dover District Council with a Freedom of Information Act request for information on income per day, so I can actually understand how much is lost when spaces are taken up by festivals. I was told emphatically that information did not exist. The information was only available by the year, whereas I wanted it by the day. Okay, not much I can do. Freedom of Information Act requests are a criminal matter. It's a criminal matter if you get it wrong. You have to disclose. Had a meeting with Dover District Council's parking. I think Mills was there, yourself, and Councillor Morehouse was there. So it was a fairly interesting meeting. Some of the comments that came back, and I think are pertinent to the way that Dover District Council sees Sandwich and sees itself in relation to the parish councils and to the traders. I made a point that the most recent festival on the Quay brought in something between 3,000 and 5,000 people. And I was basically talking about 2023, when I can pretty well be certain there were 5,000. St. Peter's clipped through 3,500, which that's people coming into town. And I sort of said, using statistics from Dover District Council and told to me what that impact would be on Sandwich, and they said that impact would be between 50,000 and 75,000 pounds coming in. I put that as an argument to provide support for the festivals, not just mine. And as was said, for example, with Sandwich Salutes, we don't compete with the town. We don't have burger vans. We don't have anything that in any way competes with, possibly with the antiques, the retro shops. But we actually have the guy that runs the retro from the market. He comes and sells that Sandwich Salutes. So the response from Kevin Mills was, well, if you're not getting the support from us, you should go to the traders and say, as you're benefiting so much, support, give money to Sandwich Lewis. And that would apply to all the festivals. And I said, that's not what I'm about. I'm about the event, not chasing people for putting money in, because they don't have it. If Dover District Council are poor, so is everybody else. There is no spare money. If there's money coming into the traders because of the festivals, that is great. The response was that I should actually expand the numbers of competing trades within the festival, such as a pizza wagon. So if I go to, for example, John Division, the
Drill hall.
the drill hall, thank you very much. That's,
You can move with that.
yeah. Then if he's not giving me money, I should compete and actually sort of, two fingers up to you. That is not what we should be doing in Sandwich. We should be supporting each other. Going on from there, the finance officer perks up and says, your festival actually costs us money in terms of parking. It costs us £70 in lost revenue. £70. A nonsense amount. So I immediately went back and said, where do you get this number from? Because your people tell me they can't drill down to that level. I managed to get the data, 50,000 records. Turn that into a day-by-day record per car park. And one of the things that struck me was you couldn't actually tell day by day, week by week, even when you started to look at weekends, Fridays, whether it was a Monday. Monday is a very low day. There's not much parking requirement on a Monday. Tuesday's very low. Wednesday afternoon is. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is a high income. Sunday Market Street parking, they make, this is Market Street, this is the free bit over there, they make £14,000 a year for free parking. The reason being, most people come in who are parking to visit the town, they don't really understand how to use it, they put money in, they're actually paying for Monday's parking, which is wasted. As I said, I spent a year negotiating or trying to negotiate. I wasn't negotiating, I was just speaking to the wall as far as I was concerned, because they didn't take anything into account, one little bit. So what came out of that was an amount to be spent which would give me 10 spaces, 10 parking spaces, £75 for 10 parking spaces. This not the last weekend, the weekend before, I counted the parking spaces that were allocated to me, that were committed to me, that would have been marked off by bollards, not one single one. Now, going back to the comments that have been made about the cost associated with managing this, the wasted time, hundreds of hours wasted. And the result was, after those 100 of my time as well, of their time, of talking to people, I think there were 3 meetings that I went to associated with this. So, and it's thousands, if not tens of thousands of pounds of staff time. They couldn't even be bothered to put the bollards out. The events people didn't speak to the parking people. This is what we're dealing with. Now, this is an issue that I'm dealing with personally, and for the events. But if they can't get something as simple as that right, then, and dare I say, the arrogance that I had, the being talked down to, that I didn't really understand what was going on, that they knew best. That is what we're dealing with. Heaven help us, really. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Mallet. So, Councillor Morehouse, and then we need to actually look towards a proposal for action. Just briefly.
Just to recommend Councillor Mallet braces himself, because at the moment the
is £75 as an admin charge to include 5 spaces in Market Street, and then any additional spaces at £12 per day, because it's linear parking. But if you look at the Guildhall or the Quay, you'll be looking at £75 for 10 spaces, and then any additional spaces will not be charged at £10.80 as they are at the moment, they'll be £15. Because if the daily rate is going to go up 40%, then your charges are going to go up as well. I've observed this year that the dark forces of economic illiteracy are permeating their way into this cabinet at DDC.
Thank you very much. Councillor.
And one thing you did forget to mention, Councillor Mann, one of the other recommendations, 2 witnesses here, was the leader suggested that maybe Sandwich Town Council raise the precept to fund the events.
And then I just wanted to finish off with, when I did my research on this Dover District parking strategy, and I hope I've got my facts right, perhaps Councillor Friend might be able to rectify me if I'm wrong, but I looked into this. It was done by a company called, I believe it's JPM, who undertook this, and the actual consultation and the survey that was undertaken was done in 2015 for the information that Dover District Council are basing the parking and parking charges on. Well, let's all cast our minds back 10 years and visualise what the economy was like 10 years ago. So we're going back beyond COVID, we're going back beyond Black Friday, we're going back to a time when the economy was actually in a much better state than it is today. And yet what Dover District Council is doing is basing these charges on a survey that's 10 years out of date. Shouldn't they have done it more recently? That's what I would like to put over. So I think we've heard enough from everybody, from the councillors and from the public. Thank you very much. So I'd sort of ask the council now to actually consider, one last speaker from Councillor Friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for indulging me one last time. A bit of context on the car parking charges, along with Councillor Morehouse and others. Last year, when the car parking charges were increased, we warned them about the impact of their decisions and the reductions that could cause. And at the cabinet meeting, we received the strategic dashboard, which highlighted that the last year parking revenue reduced by £120,000. So their assertion that putting them up will gain them an extra £50,000 doesn't hold water. It's economic literacy, as has been pointed out. One other thing I'd like to mention to members when you're considering your response to the decision of the cabinet is the fact that the left hand really doesn't know what the right hand is doing at DDC. The overarching tourism strategies that a number of us have been involved in for quite a few years, it really identifies the value of the overnight visitor to Sandwich and how much more they spend on average in the local areas. We want to encourage as many of those people to stay in Sandwich as possible. Parking is one of the challenges that the tourism team at Dover District Council has identified is a barrier to increasing that. And included in the report is a 40% increase to day charges in parking. How can a district council be so unaware of the impact of one decision on another and championing one cause whilst actively sabotaging it with the other hand? It's madness. But I just believe me, that will be
It's crazy. Thank you very much. And on top of what Councillor Friends actually said, I'd just like to say that our very own council here in Sandwich, under the leadership of Councillor Black, started up a very positive and forward-thinking tourism forum that stands alone, separate. It's not a committee of Sandwich Town Council, and they have great plans and interaction to try and get as many tourists into the town as possible to support the businesses as well. So Sandwich Town Council are really trying their very best. So we've got quite a lot to get through after this. So what I would ask is a proposal from a member of the council and somebody to second something to put an action forward. But can I just preempt that by saying, let's not say any more weak letters to Dover District Council personnel or senior members, because I've undertaken that, members of the public have undertaken that, our councillors have done that, and we don't seem to be getting replies to that. So we need something a lot stronger, and we need something really quickly to be done. So, Councillor Tudor,
Yes,
could I ask you
not
to...
necessarily a proposal, but the next intersect point was mentioned right at the start by John is the overview and scrutiny committee meeting, which is next Monday. So there is an opportunity to request to attend and speak. And I would encourage that we have a mixture of opportunity in terms of data and information. So whether Carol George is willing to go, we have a representative either for yourself or another councillor, but certainly the district councillors who are both members of that committee, I'm sure will not be keeping quiet in that conversation. But I think there is a front of activity we need. That's the next point. What happens beyond that needs to follow.
Indeed, thank you very much for that, Councillor Tudor. That is very good to mention about that. So, I mean, I will put myself forward for speaking at that meeting. I believe perhaps the district councillors can tell us we only get 3 minutes, I know that, but is there a limit to the number of people that can speak? Is it three speakers? I think it's is it 15 minutes overall, Councillor Friend?
I think it is 15 minutes, but my experience of Councillor Bartlett is if there are an amount of people that are wanting to speak on it, he will suspend standing orders and allow that time to continue for everyone to have their say.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you very much for that. So, I mean, I'll definitely put myself forward. So I think Councillor Carol.
The timetable, whether Richard and myself or both of us will go, and we've already discussed that this evening. But, something stronger. I know people can't speak, but can people come and listen to that? So what would be the problem with having the shop, the businesses and any resident actually attend that meeting en masse and actually make an impact in saying, this is how we feel, you've got to do something to save Sandwich.
Indeed.
I don't know whether businesses will.
Yeah, wait, I was going to say, where is this? And,
Well, it's-
I'm sure we.
Sorry, can I just say we're not allowed to have any separate conversation.
Oh, sorry.
I'm very sorry about that. So, Councillor Friend is seconded onto this, so we can allow him to speak.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I mean, it's twofolded. A good showing that the Overview and Scrutiny Committee would be very helpful. I'm sure members of the press will be there, and banners and signs, and vocal opposition to it. We will come to a recommendation potentially at that meeting that will go back to the next cabinet, that they'll have to make a decision based on our recommendation. I'll talk to Councillor Morehouse after this meeting, because there are some other options open to us with official calling that will actually stop the decision that's been made by cabinet and allow another extraordinary overview and scrutiny meeting to discuss that as a single item, which then forces the cabinet to reconsider it on its own merits. But the cabinet are the decision-making body. It's an executive function of the council. It's their decision. So hopefully we get a good recommendation from Overview and Scrutiny that forces it back to cabinet, and then a really good showing at the next cabinet meeting to really demonstrate that the public feeling on this would be extremely helpful.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Black, did you
Yeah,
have
just to
a-
confirm then, it's at Whitfield, this meeting?
Yes,
Council office in Whitfield.
6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock, that's very helpful.
Sorry, so when is this meeting again?
On Monday.
Monday, the 9th of May, which is next Monday, at 6 p.m. In the council chamber.
What I'd like to say, if you don't mind, so we don't have a lot of questions, I'll ask the town clerk to put something out on the Sandwich Town Council Facebook site and also onto the Sandwich Town Council website to notify about the meeting, what time it is and where it is as well. So possibly even a postcode, so you can pop that into your sat nav.
So could I ask that the district councillors also challenge about this suggestion that this has been a consultation and that all of this information has been disclosed all the way through. The online survey that was done was very short, very broad, made no reference to increased charges. The engagements that have happened have been fairly sporadic since then. So I think the key thing is, it was being said at the cabinet meeting last night that we've gone through a due process, we've had proper consultation, this is the outcome. It is completely the opposite of that. This is, a completely unexpected event for Sandwich in terms of the outcome of this process.
May I just add also, because I also took part of the consultation with Councillor Chuka, and there was no reference whatsoever to car parking charges for anything that Sandwich Town Council were invited to. They may have done it in others, but certainly not the Sandwich.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Moore has.
Yeah, just to recommend to everybody, don't be fooled by consultations. Most of the consultations are manufactured to reach a desired conclusion and not what you really think and what you really want to input.
Also, I believe, if somebody can tell me if I'm wrong, but I noted the consultation was some time ago in 2024.
December.
Oh, it's December, was it? So
No, it was April and April as well.
yeah, there was
Maybe
April. That's the one I was on about. There was one in
24.
April 2024.
The survey was in December.
Oh, I see. And here we are suddenly with the charges going up a year later. So it just seems a bit unfair to have a year and a month between, the actual survey and the parking charges. So, okay, so to conclude, we have a number of persons and councillors attending the overview and scrutiny on the Monday, so we can undertake that. And the other course of action, of course, is whether we want to perhaps take this higher. We could possibly undertake a letter to the local communities department of the government, even if that was so requested by the councillors. It would depend. Or did you want to see the outcome of the overview and scrutiny first? It's something we've got to do, something to keep our businesses. We've got to do something to protect our residents, and we've got to help these visitors that are coming to our town. Because I would, myself, personal opinion, I would rather have the money in the shopkeepers' tills that's going to be paid out to staff who live locally than in the DDC budget. So it could be squandered on other projects in the district. So that's what I would say. Did anybody have any other items to raise as proposals to go forward, or should we leave it at the overview and scrutiny?
Sorry, can I ask, have we also made our MP and also our KCC council aware of? Have you done that?
I've done that as well. So
And you've had
that's
a response from either or neither?
only verbal that they would support us on this. So which is quite good. So and the last thing that I would say is in my current role that I'm in today, I go to visit a lot of other different towns and sink ports, and I must say the wording that was said about Rye, who come under obviously a different district council, is totally correct. Rye is seen as a gem of the East Sussex coast, and the district council there totally support and maintain their gem in the crown. Now, Sandwich seems to be treated by Dover District Council as the total opposite, and we can't continue to allow that to happen. So, could I have a proposer and a seconder just to say about the overview and scrutiny, to say that we're the members? Indeed. Did you want to speak, Councillor Morrison?
I think I'm reluctant to leave this council meeting without this council having expressed an opinion. We are representatives of the residents and businesses of Sandwich.
That's correct.
And I don't want to leave things to the overview and scrutiny committee of Dover District Council, because I think they're party pre. They don't represent Sandwich. So I think it's very, very important that as a council admittedly only a town council, but nevertheless the council that represents the people who are most impacted by these proposals. We have a motion which we pass condemning these car parking charges, these proposed car parking charges. I don't have at the top of my mind a motion, but I'm sure there are other councillors who would
Indeed.
now be prepared to word one.
Indeed. Well, as you say, myself, I've already written to the cabinet and to the leader and the portfolio holder, but that was just me. That was me, indeed. I'm just coming to that, Councillor Anderson. So, John Vanderdal has also written as a businessman of the town, as a senior businessman of the town, and I believe both the district councillors have also put something over. But we can, as a collective, as a town council, we can put a letter to the cabinet. We would need a draft to be produced for that and to put that forward. So I have Councillor Morehouse and then Councillor Tuker.
Could I at least propose that we make a public statement?
Yeah, that's
Indeed, yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah.
And included in the public statement is actually confirm that both the district councillors in Sandwich are as opposed to it as this council is, I hope.
Indeed, yeah.
And that we will do our utmost to represent the town to its best, to the best of our abilities at the overview scrutiny.
Of course. Councillor Tuker, did you want
So we need to turn it into a motion, picking up on what.
Indeed, we do.
So
We do.
the motion should be along the lines, and people can wordsmith it after I've made a hash of it. But Sandwich Town Council condemns the proposals that have been presented in the parking strategy by Dover District Council that impact Sandwich directly. That's my start of the table.
Thank you very much for that. That's
I would think that was
excellent. So, super, thank you very much. So all those in favour of that letter being drafted?
It's not a letter, it's a motion.
A motion, yes, indeed. So, okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much for that. That's great. Thank you. That will conclude the discussion on that.
We also have the second motion, which is about the overview and scrutiny that we encourage representation from the council itself,
Indeed.
and to also
Indeed.
encourage our Dover district councillors to represent the views through this
We do.
discussion, and hopefully also encourage residents.
Well, we do,
Yeah.
yeah. Although to word that motion, we must say, because we can't ask these people compulsory or mandatory, but we can, the motion would be that the Sandwich Town Council would encourage members of the council and the two ward councillors, plus any members of the public, to address the overview and scrutiny committee on this matter on next Monday. So I would like to propose that.
One thing. This is to do with Sandwich, and you would like the residents and the business owners to attend this meeting on Monday. Why is it going to be held at Whitfield? Because that will put a lot of people off going. Because one, they can't get there, etc.
I can answer that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Perhaps it's just it's a council matter. So the parking authorities, Dover District Council, they're the ones putting the strategy forward. The cabinet are the senior councillors who make the decisions that then go to full council. The scrutiny of that is undertaken by a committee called Overview and Scrutiny, which is a Dover District Committee who have to meet at their own offices, which is at Honeywood Road at Whitfield, I'm afraid. So we couldn't ask them to come here. It's a totally different entity.
Yeah, I understand that, but they will stop a lot of people attending.
Indeed. But having said that, I can just tell you, just as an add-on to that, is I've undertaken a lot of pressure on planning inappropriate planning applications for Sandwich. And when I've gone up to speak at Dover District Council, there've been 40, 50, 60 members of the public there on planning. So I think planning has a slightly more gloss or glint to it.
I think, again, sorry, I don't.
Yeah, sorry for that. So I believe I had a proposal that we will encourage, as I say, the members to attend the overview and scrutiny committee on Monday meeting. Thank you very much. All those in favour, could you please show? And that's unanimous. Thank you very much for that.
Sorry, just as an answer, could we make sure that we communicate this out via our website and Facebook, that we've discussed this is the motion, and this is what people can do in terms of next Monday? At least do what we can to make it.
Indeed. I had asked if the town clerk could do that, and that will include the date, the time, and the location, so whoever wants to go can do that. So unfortunately, we've now voted.
Well, I just want to say both motions have to be available on the council website.
Yes.
Yeah, they will be.
Yeah.
They will. They have to be. They have to be by law. So
No, but they have to be put there now.
Immediately.
yeah, they have to. Yeah, they will be. They will be. So thank you very much. Can I just thank members of the public and those who've spoken tonight for coming along, and just to say that Sandwich Town Council and its councillors will do the utmost they've got in their power to try and overthrow these incorrect parking charges that Dover District Council are levying on this town, and we will do our best to stand by you. Thank you very much. You're quite welcome to stay for the rest of the agenda, or if you wish to leave, you can go and get some food. Thank you very much. Could I ask that if you do want to have any conversations, you meet outside of the chamber? Thank you very much. Oh, that's it. Very much. Thank you. And that's from
Thank you.
George. Oh. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I'm fine. Yeah.
Are you okay, John?
Quite close to the window, luckily. Cheerio, John.
Shut it down, worse than include the thing of pitchfork.
I like that. That's a good idea. So, councillors, continuing on with the agenda for this evening, we can now move on to item number 4, which is the consultations. And the first item on under number 4 is the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan consultation from Dover District Council. And the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan is now open for consultation. The consultation is open from Tuesday the 15th of April 2025 to Tuesday the 27th of May 2025, and comments are to be received no later than 5 p.m. on the 27th of May 2025. And this is attachment 1A. When I raised this at the last full council at this meeting, because I do realise that the attachment is quite a large number of pages and data and information, I did ask if everybody could look at this and possibly comment on this personally, and I undertook that over 2 weeks ago myself, and I was actually greatly in favour for the majority of what is being put forward. I think in 2 ways it's quite unusual, because with this cycling and walking plan, there's 2 matters to consider. The first matter is which a lot of councillors have spoken to me about, is where did this plan suddenly appear from? Because suddenly Dover District Council, I don't know if Councillor Morehouse can tell us, but suddenly we have Sustrans, who are a very good consultees on cycling and walking, have suddenly come up with this very, very good report, which has got a lot of information in it. But the secondary thing is why has Dover District Council suddenly brought this forward at this point in time? It seems there's a couple of questions to be asked there. I don't know, Councillor Chu, could you have any answers on that?
Well, I don't have answers, but I have concerns.
Oh, indeed, please speak.
So the actual report is based on census from 2011.
Yep.
The actual audit was undertaken some 5 to 6 years ago. It's likely, obviously, the demographics of the town have changed since then quite a bit, and obviously we know about other changes that are in the pipeline. The key thing is this consultation is only to produce a plan. It's not to deliver any improvements.
No.
So here we are, 5 to 6 years to get to a plan being generated based on 11-year-old data. And the other thing is, we need, as a town council, I would argue, we should be prioritising the list of what's there because it's not affordable.
No.
You know, for Sandwich, to get even a slice of the overall plan is hopeful, and I'm not sure that we'll get any of it. But hey, let's take part in the consultation. We've got other data that we've also already relied on. We've got the HIP, which has identified areas of concern. We've got the Rummy report, which has identified areas of concern, and we should be using those as reference points. That's what I want to say as a context. When we get into the items, there are a number I'm not very happy with, but it'll be a decision.
Indeed. Do we have any other discussion of Councillor Morehouse? Just in general,
Reading some of the recommendations, they're not even deliverable. They're suggesting a shared cycle lane and pathway on Mill, on the road walk. They're suggesting a ramp up in New Street. None of this is fantasy.
And bridges across Carol's Meadow.
Indeed.
To be honest, I read it for a second time during my lunch break, and it's nonsense.
Felt like Christmas Day. I thought it was Christmas Day when I read it. So, Councillor Black, would you like to?
I'm agreed. This thing to use 15-year-old data, hopeless. Interestingly, on page 21, they should make points that when they did a survey of cycling, hardly anybody in Sandwich replied. So we have an issue that people in Sandwich haven't thought too much about it. It barely mentions the ancient highway as a cycle route, which seems bizarre because that is precisely what could be a better route than the main road. It hasn't got the traffic. Yes, I know this issue about, I believe bikes are free on the ancient highway.
Yes. They are. That's correct.
So, I mean, to ignore this, I'm sorry. I'm a transport man, and this is not written by transport experts. Finally, they've missed out the Astro level crossing. They've blathered about 2 level crossings. We've actually got 4 in the town. All right, 3 if you say in the immediate environments. The cost of some of this is absolutely crackers. And the real issue, a lot of it is, can we get some enforcement, please? Because that is going to free up the town much more by having good quality parking enforcement, and not just when it's switched over district council during normal working hours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those comments, Councillor Black. Councillor Pennington, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Yes, firstly, just to support what Councillor Schuker said about needing a reference point, and I think the risk that I fear that in the discussion on this is that we get too involved in the detail and we don't have a specific view as a council and where we want to be in terms of developing the transport.
That's a good point.
Secondly, it seemed to me that the benefits in terms of Sandwich would be from tourists who wanted to go on cycling trips out of town. I mean, there's a lot of talk about going through Winsborough to Aylsham and so on.
Exactly.
There are all these various routes. Well, that's great, but what about here?
Exactly.
And thirdly, yes, as has been said, a lot of it is wishful thinking, and there's not much in it in terms of delivery at all.
Indeed, no, that's correct. So, I just wanted to say myself, this is on the agenda tonight as for us to address this local cycling and walking infrastructure. So, as Councillor Duke has quite rightly said, we have got other data points to reference to, such as the Rummy report and the HIP report, and even surveys that go back further than that. Councillor Franklin and I have surveys that go back to the 1980s that mention cycling in the town as well. And I hasten to add, I met somebody, an ex-employee of Pfizer's, who actually told me that to mention tonight about the cycle path that runs from the other side of the toll bridge up to the Pfizer's, what is now Discovery Park, which was apparently co-funded from Pfizer's all those years ago. So it shows what can be done. But unfortunately tonight, we are discussing just this item from Dover District Council. We need a collective proposal on what we think we should be doing about this tonight. And so I need somebody to propose and second. I've already put my own personal comments in. I hope all of you will do on a personal basis. But this is for a collective decision based on what we've read and what we've been given, as in the attachment 1A here. So thank you.
Just a point of clarification from the town clerk. I think, am I right in saying that we are forced down the route of what the survey is described? I think I read back
Yes.
in a message you sent to us.
Yes.
So we have a number of options.
Yes.
So we have to say yes or no. To
Yes.
if we
Or
can,
maybe.
Or maybe.
Yes.
Did you
That-
have those?
If we don't do that,
Yeah.
then we're not playing this particular game, are we?
No.
Then there are the broader comments which we can put at the end of that survey
That's
as well.
correct. Yeah. So did you have that printed out at all?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
And that was
so-
shared with the agenda
Yeah,
pack.
we've got
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody's
Thank
got
you very
that.
much.
Yeah.
So with those items there, we can decide on those collectively, or you could send in your decisions electronically and the town clerk could collate all of those. That may be slightly better because obviously there would be what is called free text. So if people had different comparisons of free text, otherwise we could be here for quite some time tonight, couldn't we, making decisions on
Yeah,
this?
and I agree with you. The only one I want to shout out is the
Indeed.
Sandwich Arc, but that
It's the arc.
that also affects the second one not on the list. I think the Sandwich Arc is something for
That's
multiple reasons we should not support as a council.
no,
That walkway, as it is now, is not suitable for cycling, and if it was even deemed suitable, the cost would be prohibitive. The banking
Of
on some of
course.
it is too
Yeah.
it's just a non-starter.
It is,
But that's my
indeed.
view.
Oh yeah, Councillor Ross, I know you've got an opinion on this.
To add to that, it's an ancient monument. It would never been agreed to by English.
Exactly, yeah. We're sort of forget about the people that cycle along there currently.
Oh yes.
When I walk back from these meetings in the evenings, quite often there's people cycling along, and it's not just young people, it's actually older people as well. But so I would like to put forward, because this is a consultation and there could be a large number of, how many of this are there here tonight? Is there 10, 11 of us here tonight? There could be a large number of different opinions. We could be here for quite some considerable time trying to get those down. So if that was okay with the town clerk, I would like to propose that everybody actually emails in on the Sandwich Town Council email accounts that you have into the town clerk from the template that she sent out to you, your answers to the template. And in particular, at the bottom, there are some items that say, do you have any further comments on cycling in Dover District? Do you have any further comments on walking in Dover District? And perhaps individual councillors can put forward some text that can, and I don't know, was that box
Yes.
restricted to a number of, because sometimes it says
Well,
450.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it
If
is.
it's not restricted, can I ask that all the text, town clerk,
Mhm.
is put in
Mhm.
from whatever the council, because if the councillors are going to go to the trouble of sending it in, I would like it all on there if possible. Councillor Black, did you have a?
Well, fair enough, I can see the point. I mean, I've got that full of red,
Yeah.
because this report is not worth the paper it's written on.
Indeed.
I'll just emphasise one. 201B, town centre pedestrianisation. Oh, it's a wonderful idea. You won't get a single bus into it, so there's no public transport. It is unadulterated drivel.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor. I can always rely on you to tell it how it is. So, oh, Councillor Anderson, would you like to say?
I can't find this template. I'm looking at my emails. Could you resend it?
Yes.
I'm sure the town
And say
clerk.
what it is.
Yes.
Indeed,
Because
Yeah.
sometimes things get hidden in threads and I can't.
indeed.
I'll resend it to all councillors, but what I will say is I must set a deadline and I
Yes,
won't be
yeah.
chasing any. I
Sorry,
will
yeah,
not be,
Yep.
just to be clear, I won't be
Thank you.
chasing anybody.
No,
Anybody that doesn't
That's
hit the deadline,
Yeah.
that'll be it. There
That's
won't be any, yeah.
So could we say by next Friday, which is that the
23rd.
23rd, is it? Thank you. Could we say by next Friday, the 20? Oh, yeah, sorry, Friday week, the 23rd.
Can we do it a bit sooner than that? Because that then just piles the pressure on the town clerk to.
She said she was very busy this week. That's
Well,
why.
I'm busy next week as well, but
Yeah,
but what I'm saying
What
is,
date would be preferable for you?
if we could say Wednesday, so if I give you 8 days, 8 days should be sufficient. And if I have the comments by Wednesday, then that gives me some breathing space.
Oh, super.
Yeah.
So,
And so 5 p.m. on Wednesday.
5 p.m. on
Yeah.
Wednesday, the 20th. So if we could have, sorry,
21st.
21st, sorry, big one. So that's Wednesday, the 21st by 5 p.m. So, and I was just trying to support the town clerk because she has told me about
Yes.
how much she has on this week. And of course, Thursday's a big evening as well. So I didn't want to overload the staff. Councillor Anderson.
There's another question. Since I haven't seen this template,
You can go online to the Dover District.
okay, well, but just let me finish my question. I mean, templates very often are very restrictive as to what one can actually comment on. I'm assuming that this one is, because that's usually the case with consultations, that they're highly directed. So is there space in addition to say something? Or
Yes.
one
There
just
is.
has to answer these questions?
Yeah, there is free
there is.
text.
Yes.
There's free text at
Yeah.
the bottom. So, but as I say, the town clerk has put this out 3 days ago, and the actual I put mine in 2 weeks ago, and if you go on the Dover District Council website, if you actually Google Dover District Council consultations, it comes up immediately, and then you can go on, you can open it, you can register. I believe you can register in your name, or you can do it anonymously, what have you, like that, and it gives you all the details. So I would ask actually that everybody perhaps put in their own personal ones and collectively. So if that's okay. So the proposal is that we will by Wednesday the 23rd of May, 21st of May at 5 p.m. We will all get our comments to the town clerk. At 5:01, the town clerk will be bringing down the sluice gates, and no more comments will be taken. So you have been told, and then the town clerk will put that together and submit that for us. So, so good evening, Councillor Marie. So that is my proposal. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you very much, Councillor Chuka. And all those in favour, please show. Excellent news. That's unanimous. Thank you for that one. Okay. So, and then item 4B is the quadrennial review of parish council allowances, and this is 2025 to 2029. And the East Kent Joint Independent Remuneration Panel are reviewing parish council allowances for the period 2025-29. Following consultation with the local councils, the EKJIRP will make recommendations on the levels of parish basic and parish chair allowances that could be paid. They can also include recommendations on travel and subsistence allowances. The recommendations are non-binding and comments are to be received no later than the 30th of May 2025. Members are invited to consider the consultation opportunities here and provide comments for collation and submission to Dover District Council. So this is attachment 1B. Now, I don't believe, I consulted the town clerk, but I don't believe a lot of this is actually relevant on allowances.
You don't currently pay allowances here,
So
but I didn't know.
as we don't pay allowances to either the mayors or the councillors, that item perhaps would not be of much interest. But obviously there are the travel and subsistence allowances. But obviously this is a consultation, so we're fully obliged to consider that. So we have Councillor Moore.
Proposed note.
Oh, no.
I'll second that we as a town council, we choose to abstain from this because we.
Exactly, it's not relevant. So we've had a proposal.
Can I just make one point that actually it does say for officers and councillors who are legitimately incur mileage, we should be following the HMRC's thing. So I'm not sure we can abstain. I think we should just be saying we accept that that's going to happen because that's the most tax efficient way to pay allowances. So I would think we may want to modify that slightly.
That motion, okay.
The first bit doesn't apply to us.
We can, yeah. So we can say that we are.
We know the report.
We know the report.
We have no comments to make.
Yeah,
We simply say no comment.
indeed, we can put that through. So the proposal is that we have no further comments on this consultation. And that's been proposed and seconded.
Yeah.
All those in favour, please show.
Yeah.
And that's unanimous. Thank you very much for that one. And we've done item number 5. Item number 6 on your agenda is the date of the next full council meeting, which is this Thursday, the 15th of May 2025 at 6 p.m. in the council chamber. Thank you very much. So, did you have a
Yes. Going into the new year every year, perhaps we should encourage Councillor Black to stop mincing his words as much as he does.
I stand corrected. Also, sit corrected.
I now close the meeting at 8:22.